Hi, this is the first lesson in the series of British literature, and in this series we shall start with Anglo-Saxon history. We all know that Anglo-Saxon period is very much important when we study British literature. We shall talk in this lesson about the historical movements and some key points in literature which were quite significant when we study Anglo-Saxon history and its literature. So first we shall start with history. Uh, England, the country we know, it is also called as Britain. In the olden times, we are thinking of the years 1st century BC or so, when Julius Caesar, the great Roman emperor, was ruling Rome, and he was expanding his empire, Roman Empire, in all directions, and he invaded England in 55-54 BC. And we come to know about this fact with the work that is De Bello Gallico. It is a work written by Julius Caesar, and it is written in Latin prose. And in that book, he talked about his military campaigns and wars that he conducted while invading England. After him, another emperor, Claudius from Rome, he also invaded England. And by that time, by the 1st century BC, we can assume that the Romans got a complete hold of England, and they were ruling there, and they ruled over England for 400 years almost. So you can assume that from the 1st century to 400, 4th century, they ruled over England. And after that, when the Roman Empire was falling apart, at that time, the Romans, the rulers, they left England and they went back to their country. What were the reasons? We shall talk about them in the another section when we talk about the European literature. But for now, we just remember that the Romans came to England or Britain, whatever you call, and then they left England around 4th century or 5th century after ruling over 400 years. And at that time, there were the native peoples, Celts and Gaels, and their languages were the Celtic or Celtic, you may call it, and then for Gaels it was Gaelic, and all these languages were in spoken. And at that time, of course, some of the Romans were also living there because the ruling class left England, but the people who were the working class of Romans, they were still living in England. So these three tribes were now living there. And one more significant point we shall note that the Romans, when they were ruling over England, they imposed Latin language in all sections of or in all spheres of life. They imposed Latin language and also the religion. What is the religion? That is Christianity. So okay, we should remember that Italy was the center point where the Christianity started, but now it was spreading in England as well. And in 450 AD, in the 5th century we have reached, and there Germanic tribes attacked over England. Germanic tribes means the tribes, the present day Germany we see, from that part, some of the tribes attacked over that England. And that time these tribes were the Anglo-Saxons and Jutes. This is very important point. Anglo-Saxon and Jutes, these were the three major tribes who dislodged the existing tribes in England. Which were the tribes or which were the people living there that time? Romans, Celts and Gaels. From there, one point we can further note that England. Present day we call this country as England. This name started from the Angles or Anglo. As I am saying Anglo, this tribe, and by that the word changes to Angles and then England. So this is the point we have to remember, that the present day name England comes from Anglo or Angles. Some more points related to the literature, especially according to the UGC net, I shall recite here. The first one is that the first point is that the Germanic tribes which attacked and brought the roots of the modern day English. Which were these Germanic tribes? Anglo-Saxon and Jutes. They brought the seeds of the modern day English. And second, they followed Anglo-Saxon, they followed the religion pagan. They did not follow Christianity. Romans, Celts and Gales, they were forced to follow Christianity, but pagans were not following any religion. In fact, Anglo-Saxon, they were following the pagan religion we can call. They used to worship the natural objects like sun, moon, earth, sky, such. And one more point to be noted, that is in 597 AD, Saint Augustine came in England, and he came in England with a mission, as all missionary in Christianity used to travel over. You may have seen that in India came missionary, and also in African countries they had major one target, that to spread their religion. So same was the target of Saint Augustine. He was spreading Christianity, and by that up to the 8th century, 800 years, so up to the 8th century, Christianity started reflecting even in the works. The work may be related to poetry, may be related to anything. Christianity was the major thing that was reflecting, means the impact was there in the theme of their contents. And then we have one point as the previous year question in UGC net, that Old Anglo-Saxon English is the foundation of modern English. So major tribes are the Anglo-Saxon, then Jute. Mostly the name come first Anglo and Saxon, then if Jute comes, it depends. And then one more point was there, that the Anglo-Saxon English is the combination of native Breton language and Germanic Anglo-Saxon. So Germanic Anglo-Saxon, the people they used to speak in when they were living in their own native palaces, and the native Breton language was the people who were living in England, Celts and Gales, and by their combination the Anglo-Saxon language flourished. And then one more point is there to be noted, that is in 733 AD, songs and poetry started in written form. Earlier they were appearing in oral form only, but now they were appearing in written form in 733 AD. And one more, that is Scope, S-C-O-P, Scope. Scope was a valued member in that Anglo-Saxon society. Scope, he was a singer or a poet, like we have in this walking in the streets. Such people, they are mostly telling the folklores or prayers, songs related to history, myths, and cultural things. And about the heroes, past heroes, their heroic deeds. So by that they were spreading Christianity. They were talking about the Christian heroes in Christian religion, and talking about their deeds and achievements. By this, the Christianity became the major content in the poetry. And Christianity became popular in Anglo-Saxon literature. And In the poetry, as I told you, that the ideals of Christianity, means what are the principles in Christianity, that also formed the part of the poetry content. And then the also heroic past of Germanic tribes, this was also, and mythical heroes, all they were collectively contributing to the content of the poetry. And some literary aspects I shall just conclude. Uh, the first is that the poetry attributes, means which were the features in poetry. They used caesura. It means the break in the line. When we have a longer line, to break that line in the half and start it again with the next line, that is caesura. Alliteration, we all know, the repetition of the first letter at the beginning of consecutive words. Then canning. Canning is the use of the compound words. Like we use a bone house word for human body, we can use bone house. Bookworm for someone who reads so much books. You go to Google and search canning. Examples of canning, you will find whale road, where the whale, the large fish that walks or travels or swims, whatever we say, that is whale road. So similar way we can get the examples of canning. Another point, that Anglo-Saxon, when they were coming to England, that time they brought their poetry, means the Germanic literature they also brought with them. And prose developed by the Christianity. This is major point. Earlier everything was in the form of poetry, whether it was drama, tragedy, comedy, it was in the form of poetry. But prose, when we write the things with proper sentences as we talk, these things started with the prose, and that was by the Christianity, because in Christianity sermons are there, some holy speeches are there, and these speeches are written in the form of prose. And apart from that, if I see any more point, okay, that's clear that poetry was in oral form only before that, and abstract ideas were there in their poetry as well, because Christianity talks about some abstract things. And one last point, that old English poetry used to have some features of four strong stressed in a line, means when words have consecutive stressed in their line, means the words are having strong stresses in their line. So these are the major points in Anglo-Saxon literature, and in the next lesson we shall talk about some of the major works. So for now it's enough for this lesson. Thanks a lot for watching this lesson, and I hope that I shall be able to satisfy your needs. Thanks a lot.